This is my wife's Toyota Sienna, and it has AC issues. My issue initially was not the issue I'm gonna show to you. Initially, this thing, it would not cool with the correct amount of refrigerant in it. The compressor would not pull the it wouldn't pull the low side pressure down. Basically, the high and low, they were both low, but the low was high and the high was low. If that makes sense. And it would not suck down the low pressure side. You know, it had correct amount of refrigerant in it, it just wouldn't do it. And you know, when it was off, pressures would equalize, and you know, it was correct pressure. You know, it's what you would expect for the ambient temperature anyway. But when you'd start it up, it would just barely cool because it would not suck the low pressure side down. All right, so fast forward to, you know, evacuated the system, put a brand new compressor on it, flushed everything out, new condenser, and correct amount of refrigerant in it. And it worked for 2 days, and then all of a sudden, no AC. And what I found is the clutch would not engage. And I checked, you know, correct pressures were still in there. I thought maybe it got low. You know, but put my gauges on it. It had, you know, equalized out pressure because the compressor wasn't running. But, you know, for the ambient temperature, it's what you would expect. For the pressure, you know, equalized with no compressor running. So why will the compressor not run? That's the issue we're at now. And this evidently can be an issue even, you know, if you don't have a rebuilt compressor, if you know, or a new compressor like I did. You know, I had a new compressor and this thing failed. Not the compressor, but what failed was the flow sensor. So this detects coolant flow, what's weird to me is that, you know, that you would think that this would go into effect once the compressor engaged and you could see flow, but evidently there's something that it does, and if this thing is not correct or not working correctly, you'll get intermittent compressor engagement. And in my case, I had no compressor engagement. So this was the sensor that was on my brand new compressor. Reached out to the company. They sent me a whole nother compressor. I'm not going to go through the trouble of changing the compressor just for the sensor. You know, that's just too much trouble. So I swapped the sensor out, and that one didn't work at all. Zero, nada. And then the way you troubleshoot this is with a magnet. So can y'all see down in there? All right, see right in the middle of your screen. I'm gonna try to zoom in for y'all. See that? Right in the middle. That is that sensor. And if we come in here with a magnet, and I found if I put the magnet right there, compressor would engage every single time. So just a little magnet, and I put it on the right side of the switch, just like that. Compressor would kick on. Every time I'd start it up, compressor wouldn't engage. Stick the magnet down in there, and it would kick on. And same issue with the new switch off the new replacement compressor they sent me. So what I did, I didn't want to do this again because that thing's kind of hard to get to. I found the best way to get to it was some 90 needle nose pliers, about like in that position, kind of wedged in here between the fan. Undo the alternator plug to give yourself a little more room, and I could get that snap ring out with these. So what I did is I think it's like 28 bucks on Amazon. This Dorman 926-818 flow sensor, and I put that in there. It's fixed. It works. Will it work long term? I have no idea. Will this sensor hold up? I could swap over the one from my old compressor, and I may end up doing that if this one fails. But ultimately, I wanted new stuff on here, so I went with the new Dorman sensor. So, long story short, if you have an issue on your Toyota Sienna, I'm sure this is on Lexus's and other Toyotas, but if you have an issue where the compressor will not engage, and I would almost say even, do a little research, search your model and search flow sensor. And if it's got a flow sensor, get a magnet down in there and see if it will kick the compressor on with the magnet on it. I've even heard of people, just sticking a magnet to the flow sensor and just leaving it like that. I guess you could do that. But yeah, so if that works, do a little research, make sure this is the right one for your car. But in my case, this is the one that this takes, and that fixed my issue. I guess this run of compressors has an issue with flow sensors. I don't know, but the Dorman works. So that tells me everything else in the system is fine. If it was working fine for 2 days, then failed, put a magnet on the flow sensor, and it starts working again. And then put a new flow sensor on off of a new compressor they shipped, and it will not kick on. Put a magnet on that flow sensor, compressor kicks on. And then take and put a Dorman in, and it works. No magnet needed. So that, to me, tells me that they've got a bad batch of flow sensors or something. So I'm going to reach out to the compressor manufacturer, tell them what's going on here, and that new compressor they sent me still did not work, and I ended up putting a Dorman, $28 Dorman switch on it. That fixed the issue, and hopefully we're all good from here. So that's it. I'm hoping this helps y'all out if you're faced with a similar issue. This magnet trick, I didn't figure this out. Someone else figured this out, and that's just ingenious troubleshooting method. If it kicks on with the magnet there, that's pretty much a given that you've got an issue with the flow sensor. And why can't compressors be simple? Just put a clutch on it. Clutch, and that's it. No flow sensors, no other kind of sensors, just a clutch. Kick on, kick off. Put a pressure switch in the system to, control the compressor. And that's it. Why do we have to complicate things? Just leave them simple. Simple is good. Simple doesn't break. Well, as I'm sitting over here waiting for some navel jelly to do its thing on some rust that I sandblasted on this 1975 Lincoln Continental, I remembered one other thing, and that was that the other telltale sign when I was troubleshooting this thing that to me led me to start looking at the flow sensor was, and not like the AC clutch. And I think I reviewed back through the video, and I was saying, I think I said something like, just have a AC clutch and a pressure switch. And I am aware that this AC system on the Sienna does have a pressure switch and a clutch, but it's got all these sensors on the compressor. It's got 2 other sensors on the compressor, one a flow sensor, and the other one, to be honest, I'm not sure what it is, but I don't know why. I'm sure the purpose of that is to make more efficient AC, or help with miles per gallon or emissions and all kinds of stuff, just to make it more efficient in working, and demanding the right amount of compressor usage, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, the thing that led me to start looking at something other than the AC clutch, because normally if I got a system and I'm going to look at a simple system, with a pressure switch and a clutch. If the compressor will not engage, you start looking at, well, is it getting signal to the clutch to engage? And you start looking at either wiring or whatever, make sure that clutch is getting the signal. But on that Sienna, all the times in the past, if you crank it up, cold engine, with the AC on, the fans will kick on. Doesn't matter what temperature the engine is. When the AC is on, it kicks the electric fans on, so that it's got air flowing across the condenser. So telltale sign there was when I would turn the AC on, the fans would not come on either. So clutch is not engaging, but also the AC fans are not. So to me, that told me whatever is telling, there's something that's saying don't turn on, not a AC clutch issue or a wiring issue. We've got two separate issues. Fans not coming on and the clutch isn't coming on. That led me to start troubleshooting and looking at what is in the system. And that's when I ran across this flow sensor. I had not done any troubleshooting with the flow sensor with the old compressor, but it was engaging and it was running. It just wouldn't bring the pressure down. So when I started doing some research, I ran across this flow sensor. And it actually seems to be a fairly common problem. You can't buy the flow sensor from Toyota. They don't sell it. You have to buy the compressor. But Dorman, and it looks like some other manufacturers, make this flow sensor. And from what I was seeing, it looks like Dorman is the most reputable that I could find brand for it. And that's why I bought the Dorman. And it worked in my case, unlike the 2 switches on the replacement compressors I got. So there. Now we're at the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment down below, hit the like button, and subscribe for more. And if you're curious about this 1975 Lincoln Continental and what I'm doing to it, I've got a playlist for it. So check that out, and it's quite the project.